Today, we will be discussing the latest updates in the 2020 Democratic presidential primary race,
followed by new statewide school changes spearheaded by Governor Gavin Newsom.
And finally, we're bringing you the latest CSUF and local news. All this and more on today's episode of The Report.
Hello, and welcome to The Report, Cal State Fullerton's premier source for news, views, and information. I'm Jefferson Denham.
I'm Ryan Matthey.
I'm Bree Eastlick.
And I'm Gabriela Martinez. Before we get started with our first hot topic, we'd like to invite you to be a part of the discussion. Click on the link in the description of any of our report episodes to fill out a secure Google form with any of your opinions on any of our controversial issues that we've talked about now or in the past. As many of these issues are recurring and evolving, we also have a Twitter account. Please follow us at The Report CSUF to check out our polls, questions, and news updates.
Pete Buttigieg is making headway in the latest Iowa caucuses. Mayor Pete of South Bend, Indiana, has blasted past fellow Democratic nominee Bernie Sanders. In a recent poll conducted by Suffolk University, former Vice President Joe Biden leads the race at 18%, followed by Senator Elizabeth Warren at 17% and Buttigieg at 13%. For more information on his rise in the polls, we turn to CNN reporter Aaron Burnett.
In a sea of 17 Democratic presidential hopefuls, one, Mayor Pete Buttigieg of South Bend, Indiana, could have a secret weapon.
You know Chasten?
His husband, Chasten Buttigieg, is fast becoming the rising star of the candidates' spouses.
Our marriage just might be the most or only normal thing in my life. Thanks for coming to us.
He's just 29 and a former junior high school teacher, on leave to support his husband on the campaign trail.
Thank you so much.
And it's his sense of humor and a penchant for revealing his personal side on social media that has earned him notice.
What was it about him that stood out to you before you started dating? I mean, what appealed to you?
He's got this really quick wit. You can tell if you follow him on Twitter, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
These new standings make for an interesting Democratic presidential race, as Iowa is the first state to hold a primary election, which gives it tremendous importance. Back in 2008, President Barack Obama won the Iowa caucus despite Hillary Clinton previously leading the major polls. Come next February 3rd, we may see some major shakeups in the Democratic presidential race. Now, I just read an article yesterday, and maybe you guys saw it too, that Hillary Clinton, speaking of Hillary Clinton, and I think Michael Bloomberg are both being urged to join the race. I think people who are observing, I don't know if you've been watching the debates, but it's hard to see someone with the bombastic personality to take on Trump from the field that we see right now. I'm not sure that's a good or bad thing, but I think a lot of people, again, for good or bad, they vote with their emotions, not necessarily with their intellect. And so you can have, and I saw a poll even recently as of this morning, I believe, 51% of the electorate agree that we should be having an impeachment inquiry and that maybe even supporting getting rid of the president. So knowing that, is there someone in the field with the personality to take on a personality like Trump?
I think Pete is on the run for it too. He embodies the youth of today. He really does. He's openly gay, and I think that in itself is very important. He stands strong, he's confident. I can identify myself with him as a young minority, and I think that it reflects, if I vote, I'm voting with emotion, and I am very happy that he's up. I am. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him in office. I really like him. I like his views. Personally, I am a Bernie Sanders fan. I just like that, he's been around for a long time, and even when his politics weren't, the most popular opinion, he still stood by them, So I do like him, but in the end, I think that it is a little too early still to tell. Things change, people change their minds. I think all we can really say, in my opinion, is to just make sure you're registered to vote, to make sure that you do vote, because that's what you do as an American citizen. You vote for what you want.
I will say, though, this whole thing, I think people are a little hesitant and they're a little scared of something happening again like what happened in the 2016 election, where obviously it was Bernie and Hillary for a little while. Hillary ended up being that Democratic candidate for us. And then even though Bernie cut him out, people were still voting for him when it came down between Trump for who's going to get the presidency. And in part, Hillary lost it because of these hardcore Bernie supporters who refused to vote with their party, just to vote for the specific person they wanted. And I get that, and I feel that, and I totally get your mindset from there. But there has to be a point of the greater good, and you have to think of the bigger picture of everything. And so, if anything, I just want to make sure that if we are, still kind of selecting from this numerous group of people, that whoever ends up getting chosen kind of in the end is the one that we all support.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, yeah, if Bernie ends up not being the one, then I will definitely be doing that and making sure that, I vote for whoever is our candidate.
And keep in mind, by the way, I was reading another report that some of the Republicans are urging Mitt Romney to jump in the race. So there are rumblings. I think a lot of Republicans are just afraid to come out and say, hey, we don't like our standard bearer. But there are those who are now saying, I will run against this guy. We'll see if that has any traction.
I think the importance here is just to vote. Stand up, stand your ground, vote. I think many minorities are very afraid of voting, and it's time to get out there and vote and speak up. Our voices are heard. We are important. We need to do so.
What she said. Well, moving on now to Governor Gavin Newsom, who recently signed a bill that will push school start times later in the morning. Elementary and middle schools in California must start no earlier than 8 a.m. and high schools no earlier than 8:30 in the morning. A month ago, the Assembly approved the bill with a 44-17 vote, and Governor Gavin Newsom stated, quote, "The science shows that teenager students who start their day later increase their academic performance, attendance, and overall health," end quote. Despite the pushback from many school districts, the bill moved forward, giving California schools 3 years to make this adjustment by the start of the 2022 school year. And I need to say this, that I don't understand why this wasn't a thing when I was in high school, because I was like such a tired piece of work in high school. So I really think I can see why this would be helpful. Obviously, there's a bunch of science behind it as well. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is a good move?
I was going to say that, I'm sorry, you go ahead, Gabriel.
I totally agree. This is awesome. And it should have been happening a long time ago. But anyways, it's really hard to wake up in the morning for kids. The only thing I'm afraid of is that for parents, it's going to be very difficult. Working parents, they have to go to work. So I know, for example, my sister, she wakes up very, very early, prepares the kids at 6, 7 in the morning, drops them off, and they're in that morning school program. So what that means is schools are going to have to invest in morning school programs because they're going to be there a lot earlier. That's the only downside of this.
I know, there are some things that we're going to have to adjust, but hey, we've adjusted to these things in the past. The thing that I was going to say, based on what you said, the science, I'm all for any decisions that are based on evidence and science. I just am. Call me crazy that way. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the American Medical Association all recommend this move. So on paper, it looks good. I would say the only thing I'm not sure about, and something you brought up, was the unintended consequences. How will this affect, let's say, after school programs if everything's bumped up a little bit later? How will it affect preschool, before school programs? So that is the only thing I'm not sure about, the unintended consequences.
Yeah, I think it would have been great having it as well. But at the same time, I mean, I played softball my whole life. I had those after school programs. They are going to have to get pushed back now, And so I'm kind of worried about some of the younger kids who might not feel like they have enough time throughout the day, maybe to finish their homework or anything like that. So that's what I'm kind of worried about. I do think that this is a good bill to put out, though.
If you notice, some of the kids that wake up in the morning very, very early, they go to school, they're zombies, okay? They're tired, so they're not really learning at 7 a.m.
You have to think of their health too, because it's affecting so much more than just how they are that specific day. It's affecting how they're retaining this information, how they're testing, and furthermore, if they decide to pursue college or pursue anything really after school, it all is based on all this work that they're doing in high school. And so if it's going to improve their future, sucks that you're going to have to start softball a little bit later than normal, but it's for their safety. I mean, yeah, for their safety, for their health, for all of it.
And speaking of health, there's one thing that I am concerned about, and that is we sometimes focus on the little things that we can get done like right now, but there are other things, big ticket items in schools that we probably should be looking at as well. If we're going to look at overall health, how about what we feed the kids? You know what I'm saying? What kind of food programs are available? So if that's the impetus to do this kind of a move, yay. But don't stop here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think in the next few years we'll really understand and see how it turns out for the kids. But we're gonna move on now. NASA astronauts Jessica Meir and Christina Koch performed the first all-female spacewalk in the history of the International Space Station. The women are the 13th and 14th women to participate in a spacewalk in the ISS. The spacewalk was over 7 hours and went off without a hitch, according to the astronauts. It was so successful that they managed to go beyond what was scheduled and completed some, quote, get-ahead work, end quote. During the spacewalk, Meir and Koch received a phone call from the White House where President Trump congratulated them for their achievements. Both women were quick to acknowledge their predecessors for paving the path to this accomplishment and hope to see this as a more regular occurrence.
Governor Newsom has signed another bill affecting students, this time on college campuses. Under this bill, all California public colleges and universities will be required to provide students with abortion medication, should they request it. This non-surgical procedure is effective up to 10 weeks in a pregnancy and has accounted for nearly 40% of abortions in 2017, according to the Guttmacher Institute. With more than 400,000 female students in California public universities, the bill allocates $200,000 to each UC and CSU student health center. This will cover the cost of the medication as well as the equipment, training, and services costs. This bill is seen as a major step towards offering more comprehensive health care, particularly across college campuses. Now, wow. My traditional side, my conservative side says no, no, and no. I'm concerned because a pill should be the last resort for abortion and not your first option. And having it so accessible on campus for any woman to go, I understand we are empowered. We have the choice to do whatever it is that we want with our bodies. But you're seeing 20, 21, 23-year-old women making a little mistake and going in there and popping a pill and killing a life. Like I mentioned, that should be a last resort. What do you guys think about that?
I think that we were talking about this a little beforehand. If they're going to make this accessible, they need to make birth control accessible on campus as well in order to have not let these women use this as their first resort. You know, they need to make everything accessible to make sure that these women are not just relying on this abortion pill, because if you keep taking it over and over again, it is not good for your body. I mean, if you take it once, then okay, but you cannot keep using it over and over again.
And the thing is, their kind of arguments against this is like, well, you have Planned Parenthood already. You have people who were there who will kind of take this, into consideration a little more in terms with, or along the lines with science. But you can, if you've seen any sort of coverage of Planned Parenthoods where you have all these people outside rioting, saying awful things to these people who are just trying to have a basic human right. And if they don't want to be pregnant, they shouldn't have to be pregnant. And I totally get that. And I also get what you guys are saying along with this shouldn't be a first resort. This goes with as well kind of the education of making sure people know what is available to them and that, yes, this pill's available to you and it's something you can take if you take it several times, maybe not the best thing for your body too. And so I think it's something along the lines of, improving not just healthcare, but for women's rights still. Like, it's still such an awful thing that women don't have the access to what they need if they don't want to be pregnant.
It's a contentious issue. You can see that there are a lot of, and this is the thing, there's a lot of things, you brought up some great points, as did you. There is some good things to say on many sides of the coin, but I just want to piggyback on what you just said, my darling, and that is the idea that if you are against abortion, you're anti-abortion, seems to me that you also have to then say, I am also for massive amounts of money being spent to help those women that now have to have babies. So if you are in poverty and you're a single mom, you have to say, I'm also for that. We got to put funds to help them. On the other side of it, you also have to say, I want to provide massive amounts of money for birth control, including men taking birth control. By the way, there is a pill, men, for you to take. So if you are against abortion, if you think we just must curb abortions no matter what, it seems to me you also have to take into account the before and after sides too. And don't forget, this was not really that big of a political issue until 1980, you know? So that's the thing. This is
a lot. It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So, the trans community is outraged after learning that actress Rosario Dawson and her family are being sued for allegedly attacking a trans man. Dedrick Finney, Dawson's Dawson's former employee, has filed a lawsuit against the Sin City actress after coming forward with allegations that date back to April 2018. Dawson reportedly would not use the proper pronouns when referring to Finney, despite Finney having corrected her several times and being family friends for decades. Things escalated while Finney was living on Dawson's property when her mother, Isabel, allegedly became violent and punched Finney repeatedly. Finney is suing the family for assault, battery, and civil rights violations. Dawson has yet to comment on the lawsuit.
The term 3 strikes you're out doesn't just apply to baseball players. On October 18th, 3 Astro fans attending Game 5 in New York City were harassed by Yankee fans to the point where onlookers threw food and beer on them. The aggression escalated to the point of needing a security escort to change seats, which were upgraded to behind home plate. The Yankee organization issued a public apology for the actions of the assailants and for the way the Astro fans were treated. Upon hearing of the fans' flight, pitcher Lance McCullers had given the 3 fans tickets to the World Series against the Washington Nationals. The Astro fans attended Game 1 of the World Series in Houston on Tuesday evening.
An investigation has been launched by the CSUF Office of Student Conduct over a flyer posted on Instagram by the Phi Sigma Kappa fraternity. University officials declined to comment on what was said on the flyer, though apparently the flyer contained an offensive watermark on the bottom of the image. The Daily Titan reports that while they were unable to attain a copy of the flyer, CSUF Reddit users report that the Instagram post contained a racial slur. The individual who created the post, which was allegedly done as a joke, was unanimously voted out of the fraternity. Judgment against the fraternity as a whole will be given at the end of the investigation, if necessary. Phi Sigma Kappa is known for a very prominent alumnus, current school president Fran Vergy. The fraternity posted a public apology and states they do not take acts of intolerance lightly, and they pride themselves on being accepted and inclusive to all walks of life. Now, I actually have a friend who is a co-editor on the Daily Titan, and he told me that it was in fact the N-word that was used within this flyer. Now, I was wondering though, what do you guys think about the whole fraternity being punished? Now, some people might believe that, oh, well, not everyone was involved, so why should I be punished? But at the same time, you're a part of an organization. You know, if you're a part of this organization, you need to stand with your brothers. So what do you guys think about that?
We don't know what the punishment is at the moment, but the person who created the flyer was removed, right,
Yes.
from the organization. Now, if you're associated with something like this, the N-word, this is racism at its best. You're a part of that organization. You are associated with that. Everyone is going down together. Give me an explanation as to why you did that. And why is this still happening right now? What are we in? Like, what time are we in? Why is this still happening? And this is horrible that it's happening. It really hurts me that this is happening.
There was it a town hall yesterday? I think it was yesterday. And it was sponsored not by the administration of the school, but by the Black Student Union. And that already tells me that I think the school maybe needs to be a little more forthcoming, is more proactive, I should say, in dealing with this. This is a really uncomfortable situation since our school president is an alum in this fraternity.
And like you said, where, of course, I feel like probably anybody a part of some sort of minority community is feeling this in some repercussion, but specifically Black students on campus are feeling this the most. It's directed at them, and we need to be listening to specifically what they want. At this town hall, like the Daily Titan reported, where it was $500 increase in funding and scholarships.
500,000.
500,000, excuse me. 2 full-time African-American counselors, and then an increase in the Black faculty recruitment. And if those are the basic requirements that are going to make Black students more comfortable being here, to be proud of being a Titan, what's wrong with it? What's the issue with trying to make all of your students here comfortable, not just a few.
As a community, we stand for diversity and inclusion. Do you feel like you can be a part of an organization like this? You don't, not at all. But let's move on with this. Let's go on to something a little lighter, please. One of the NBA's biggest stars just showed that he may also have the biggest heart. 12-year-old Isaiah Payton was paralyzed from the chest down after he was accidentally shot while leaving an Atlanta high school football game. His family was unable to provide wheelchair-accessible facilities in their home, making the hospital he was being treated in unable to release him. After hearing of their dilemma, former Lakers superstar Shaquille O'Neal decided to buy the family a new home that meets ADA standards. Additionally, he offered to work with Papa John's, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, and the Atlanta Fire Department to assist them with groceries, bills, and new furniture for the next year. O'Neal, who actively advocates against gun violence, stated, quote, "I was watching this story and it's just sad. It could have been any of us," end quote. And he was inspired to help the Payton family alleviate their financial stress.
Way to go, Shaq. And with that, that's all the time we have today on The Report. Have a great week, everyone, and stay tuned for more news, views, and information. I'm Jefferson Denham.
I'm Ryan Matthey.
I'm Bree Eastlick.
And I'm Gabriela Martinez. Stay fresh, Fullerton.